Hey, good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Morning, Paul.
Good morning, Schusters. Happy sales meeting.
Yeah, I always look forward to this day.
Me too.
Speak up, Paul. You're coming through my speaker, so if you come through my speaker, then you go to Facebook. So I can.
Good morning, Schusters.
There we go.
Yay! We got you loud and clear.
Hello.
I can turn it up a little bit more on
Yeah,
my
make
end.
sure
I've
everybody
got as loud as I can go over
can
here.
hear us. So yeah, so far we've got 14 people online with us this morning. Drop us a hello in the chat box. Good morning, Irene. Good morning, Aluz. Good morning, Julie. Good morning, Crystal. Good morning, Rita. Good morning, Pam. It's good to have all of you online with us.
We'll give a few minutes, or minute.
A minute.
Minute.
Make sure everybody gets logged in. We've got a good meeting ahead.
I think so.
Yeah.
Some good stuff.
Good morning, Brianna. Good morning, Amir.
We have Amir speaking today.
Yes, he's going to talk about appraisal waivers, appraisal gaps. I know we get a lot of questions about that, so I'm excited for his presentation this morning.
Okay, where is everyone? Is it summer? What? It finally got nice out, and
it's summer. It's warm. We're all out playing.
And this is why we don't do July sales meeting.
Yes.
So we'll let you guys know that, but we don't do meeting in July because you guys are playing.
And that's just fine.
And we're going to probably be playing too.
Yeah. So everybody's out on summer vacation, enjoying the warm weather, spending time with family. All right. Good morning, Kevin. Top of the morning to you.
Top of the morning to you.
I love that. Michelle, good morning. Rocio, good morning.
I love seeing all of our regular faces, but we really need to get these newbies. We've hired a lot of new agents, and I don't think they understand the value of getting together and learning these sales meetings. So we need to do a better job. I don't know, in the interview, Paul, I don't know what we got to do to get people to understand the importance of this.
And we need to call them and tell them.
Call and tell them. And it's like the importance of going to the Smedra marketing meeting. I know it's like, I got to go to the marketing meeting. And they're doing it live again, people.
Yeah, in person.
In person. So we're back. We're back. So yeah, and we'll be scheduling some of our sales meetings live. We're going to do both because some people have like the virtual, and so we're going to do
a hybrid,
but not at the same time. Not like that's a lot of work all the time. So anyway, more on that to come.
Yeah. So let's see who else we've got, and then we'll dive in. Good morning, Erica. She says, "Hey."
Hey.
And good morning, Gina and Skip. Glad to have you guys. Good morning, Eric. Sunny. Good morning, Eric. Hello, hello.
All right. So, what do we got going on here? We're going to start with welcoming our new agents who, like I was just saying, we need to get them
They might be
up.
lurking in the background.
Maybe they're lurking, yes. So, our new agents, we've got some great new looking faces here, and some that have come back, or at least one that's come back. We've got Amy Ramirez, who's just joined us. And if you guys are online or join online later, please post in the comments. Hi, happy to be here, something like that. So Amy Ramirez, Angie Ackman, Brielle Nix, a very good friend of mine, Byron Nix, who is a cyclist, as you guys know. That's kind of what I do. This is his youngest daughter, so that's exciting to have her. Ana Chavez, Ashley Farrell, she's back with us.
Took a little hiatus.
Yep,
We're glad to have her back.
And then Tommy, Paul, can you pronounce Tommy's last name for me?
I can't.
Wow.
Ulowich, I think.
Luke, Tommy, we need you to come online, and we need you to
help us with your last name. We want to pronounce it correctly.
You even told me too, and I'm botching it again.
Too funny.
We'll get that one down.
Yeah. So again, as always, we appreciate your guys' referrals. And so Matthew, thanks for referring Rose Tong, and Patty Barker for referring Angie Ackman, and then Ray Anderson. referred Amy Ramirez. So thank you guys so much. Always appreciative of your referrals. We're going to jump right in this morning. I'm going to bring Amir in. And again, I'm sure you guys all know that Own Home Loans is our in-house mortgage company. Would love you to give us a shot, give us an opportunity to earn your business. Amir does an amazing job. And appraisal gaps and appraisal waivers are still a hot topic out there. We get lots of questions about these. So we thought, let's get it from a lender. Well, how's a lender feel about all this? So let me bring in Amir.
Yeah, and as Amir does his presentation, if you guys have any questions, go ahead and just type them in the chat box, and then we'll field the questions at the end. So go ahead and get those typed in, and we'd be happy to address them.
Yeah, and if it's lender related but not appraisal gap, go ahead. This is a good opportunity. We've got him right here in front of us. So anyway, Amir, take it away.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I am, thank you for the kind introduction and having me. I'm going to jump in because this topic really requires probably like at least 30 minutes, probably an hour. But I'm going to try and cram it in here to like roughly 10 minutes. But over the last few months, probably since the beginning of the year, I get more questions about appraisal gaps probably than anything else. And I think most agents understand a lot, and obviously there's varying knowledge out there, but there's a lot of things that I think are going to be helpful for you to know and add to your knowledge base to help your business and help your buyers. And there's just a few things I'd like to go over with everyone. So I have a little presentation, and I should be able to share my screen here.
While you're doing that, Lisa, thank you. Amir is a rock star. Have 2 closings with him in 3 weeks. That's exciting.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thanks, Lisa.
Nice shout out.
Appreciate that. All right, so I hope everyone can see my screen. I'm going to rely
Looks good.
Maybe Todd nodding his head that you guys can see that there. Thanks. All right, thanks, guys. All right, so when it comes to an appraisal gap and writing that into a contract, there's a lot involved. And one of the main takeaways I hope you guys can get from this is for certain buyers, you can really give them some confidence. And some confidence is needed in this market. A lot of times that's what separates the buyers who get their bids accepted from the ones who don't, is the ones who don't have as much uncertainty about what's going to happen if the appraisal comes in low. And even beyond that, they understand the different permutations depending on where that appraisal value lands. So we're going to jump right in here, and I'm going to tell you a little more specifically what I mean. But before we start, really one of the most important concepts to understand when it comes to appraisal gaps is the loan to value. And I think most agents know what loan to value is, but maybe not entirely everything that the loan to value affects. So loan to value, or the LTV, primarily governs what happens to a buyer's loan, what happens to the financing, how it's priced, what the mortgage insurance premium is, or if there is mortgage insurance. The LTV is linked to the down payment. So somebody making a 10% down payment, at least initially, is going to have a 90% loan to value. So the LTV is the loan amount divided by the lower of the purchase price or appraised value. And that's why appraisals are so important, is because all lenders use the lower of the appraised value or purchase price when they determine the loan to value. Now, the loan to value doesn't purely affect how much cash the borrower or buyer brings to the table. It affects other things like mortgage insurance premiums interest rates, whether the condo project has a full review, it affects their qualifications, and a bunch of other things. So when an appraisal comes in low, some buyers may have the choice to keep their loan to value or their LTV the same or increase it. This is kind of the key component of this quick little presentation. So knowing this may give some buyers more confidence when they're placing a bid. So to give you guys a little more context and a little more understanding of what I'm talking about, I'm going to give you two quick examples. Well, they may not be that quick, but I'll try to make them quick. But we have to make some assumptions to narrow down what we're doing a little bit. So we're going to assume that we're doing a 30-year fixed loan, conforming, because that's what most loans are these days, at a 3% interest rate with no escrow. So they're not bringing any money for taxes and insurance, or that's not in their payment. And we're doing a 1-unit primary residence. The seller is not going to budge on the price, and they have an unlimited appraisal gap in their contract. And we're just going to round off closing costs, prepaid settlement costs to $6K, just to make it easy. So our first scenario here, we have a purchase price of $500,000. This buyer has a credit score of 760, and they're making an initial down payment of 20%. So a pretty strong buyer going into this transaction. Well, what happens for this buyer if their appraisal comes in low? Well, I put two scenarios here, and if you'll notice, both of them have the appraisal coming in at the same value of 450K. So quite a bit lower than what they were hoping for, right? What the purchase price is. And I would say these numbers are relatively realistic based on the Colorado market. I think plenty of you have probably seen listings at 450 go for 500 or possibly go for more than that. But what happens to that buyer who's putting 20% down? So again, the key here is their down payment or their loan to value. Initially, we're starting at 80% loan to value or 20% down payment. Well, let's say the appraisal comes in low and this buyer does not want to change their loan amount. They want to keep it at 400,000 because they don't want to bring any extra money to closing. Their loan to value is going to change. It's going to increase. In this case, it increases from 80% to almost 90, just under 90, about 88.88. Well, their principal and interest payment isn't going to change because their loan amount isn't changing, their term isn't changing, and their rate isn't changing. Now, technically, the rate is slightly different, but it's not that consequential. And that's one of the assumptions we're making. So I just want to throw in that quick asterisk there. But for by and large, their principal and interest payment is really not going to change much. The big thing that's going to change is their mortgage insurance. Now, if you notice, this is a $400,000 loan, and the mortgage insurance premium is really not that much. We're talking about $63 here. A key reason the mortgage insurance is only $63 is because their credit score is very high. So they have a good credit score, and that's a key component of having a low mortgage insurance premium. If we were talking about a buyer who had a lower credit score, that difference could be much larger depending on what their credit score is. But if we look at this, we can keep this buyer's cash outlay the same, and they're just bumping up their monthly payments a little bit. So it's really not a bad scenario. If you have a buyer who has 20% down and they're worried about the appraisal coming in short, they need a lender who has cheap mortgage insurance premiums. So I'm just going to plug us. We're the lowest in the industry. Because not all lenders have same mortgage insurance premiums, but we have incredibly low mortgage insurance. But aside from that, they really need a good loan officer who can explain to them that even if that appraisal comes in 50K short, it's not going to impact them as much as they may think. Now, what if they are just they hate the idea of mortgage insurance? Nobody can talk them into it. They just don't want to deal with it. Well, they can still get rid of the mortgage insurance. And in this case, they're keeping the loan to value the same. To do that, they have to drop their loan amount. And what that will do is it's going to increase their cash outlay. Now, they're bringing $40,000 more on a $50,000 appraisal shortage. And this is a really quick trick if you want to explain to your buyers how much more money they can expect to pay if their appraisal comes in short. And it's all governed by the loan to value that we spoke about earlier, or you can talk about it in terms of a down payment as well. If they're putting 20% down, their loan to value is 80%. So for every dollar that the appraisal comes in short, they're going to have to make up 80% of that, or they're paying
Presentation.
Yeah, this is perfect.
This is really very helpful.
Yeah, to be able to see
Yeah,
everything.
yeah, really good.
well, and if I'm going too fast and you have questions later, you guys can email me, text me, call me, and I can help clarify some of this. Don't message me on Facebook. If anyone is, some of you I think are personal friends with me on Facebook, you'll probably notice I've never posted a personal message on Facebook. All of my posts are equity, so please text, email, call if you have questions on anything. But I'm going to go into the next example. What if we don't have
Hang on.
Hold on, Amir. We're just getting some comments.
We're
getting some comments that we lost the video
Okay.
feed, so we're going to check on something real quick. Looks like everything's working.
Maybe I'll try to stop the share and restart it.
Looks like you're still live, Todd, so we should be okay.
I'm still seeing it on Facebook, so.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think I'll ask if anyone else is having trouble with the feed, but yeah, I'm still seeing us live on Facebook, so we'll keep pushing forward, Amir.
Okay, I'll keep moving along. So let's go to an example, same parameters. Let's see here. There we go. Same parameters, same purchase price, same credit score, but we're going from 20% down to 10% down. So our loan amount is changing to $450, and this buyer is walking in knowing they're going to have to pay some sort of mortgage insurance premium. Well, we're still going to go to that big appraisal, basically that large value reduction of 50K. So we're going to go to a new loan of 450, just like the old example. Well, in this case, this buyer has to go to a lower loan amount because their appraised value came in at what their original loan amount was going to be. So they don't have that option like the 20% buyer did to simply keep their loan amount the same. So in this case, this buyer has decided to go to a 5% down payment. Now, in certain situations, this buyer could potentially go to a 3% down payment if they were very tight on cash. And there's really two primary conditions for a conforming loan if they want to do that. They either need to be a first-time home buyer, or they need to make 80% or less of the area median income for the county that they're going to buy in. And if you don't know how to find that, I can give you a tool to find that. So email me if you want that tool. But in this case, we're going to 95%. Now, the P&I is going to go down because we're dropping the loan amount. The mortgage insurance is going to go up because the loan to value is going to increase that from a 90% loan to a 95% loan. That's going to increase their mortgage insurance premium. Still very low, by the way. And their monthly payment, because of the P&I, is actually going to drop a little bit. Their cash outlay is going to increase. Now, with that additional cash, it's not like they don't get anything. They do get a slightly lower monthly payment, which is some consolidation, but obviously may not be a full consolidation for that, or consolation, I'm sorry, for the amount of cash they have to bring. Now, what if they want to keep their loan amount, their loan to value the same? What if they want to keep it at 90%? Because their loan to value is 90%, they're bringing 90 cents on the dollar. So their new loan amount is $405, and their cash outlay increases by $45,000 on a $50,000 appraisal shortage. I've seen a few people talk about these types of examples, but I never have seen anybody talk about some of the pitfalls to be aware of. So I'm going to wrap up on a few things that I don't think a lot of agents know, and I don't think a lot of buyers know. If you have that buyer that is okay increasing their loan to value because they don't want to bring that extra cash, there's a couple things to be aware of. First is for condominiums. If it's a primary residence, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac will require a full review if your loan to value goes above 90% in most cases. Why is that an issue? Well, one, you'd be going from a limited review to a full review, which can invalidate your condominium project. That's probably not as big of a chance as delaying the closing, because the lender is going to have to order a different type of HOA questionnaire, and depending on the HOA, that could cause a large delay in your closing, especially if the appraisal comes in a few days or a week before closing. So if you have a condominium, you may want to ask your lender if they can get both questionnaires, unless they have an overlay which makes them have to use the full review. We don't have that overlay, so we don't have to worry about it. We can get a full review and a limited and be okay with either one. But very important, I think, on condos to be aware of that. If you break that 90% loan to value barrier, you may have an issue with your closing. High debt ratios and lower credit scores. These go hand in hand. If your loan to value increases, your mortgage insurance premium may increase. And especially with the lower credit score, that could be a large increase. It could be $100 or more, depending on your loan amount and the buyer's credit score. If that buyer has a debt ratio that was on the edge in the first place, that could invalidate the loan. They could be in trouble. Last thing is for jumbo loans. If your lender is doing a jumbo loan and the appraisal comes in short to the point where maybe they actually want to go to a, let me explain it this way. A better way of explaining it is just to pay attention to conforming loan limits. If you guys have to switch from a jumbo to conforming or vice versa, you may not be able to do it quickly because you may need a full appraisal. You may need a different appraisal. I don't want to talk about this too much because every jumbo loan is different. There's not as much uniformity between jumbo loans as there are conforming loans, but just some questions to ask your lender: what happens if we have to switch loan products? So hopefully I crammed that in. I don't know how quickly. I think I just squeezed it in there. I will be here for any questions, but I appreciate your time, guys.
Perfect. We did have one request. A couple people had an interrupted feed on Facebook and they missed your trick on calculating how much a buyer needs to bring additional to closing when the appraisal comes in low, that 80 cents on the dollar thing we were talking about. So could you just run through that real quick again?
Yeah, so again, this all comes back to the loan to value. The loan to value is linked to the down payment. And basically, if you have somebody bringing 20% down, their loan to value is 80%. If you have somebody bringing 10% down, their loan to value is 90%. That loan to value number governs how much money they'll need to make up if their appraisal comes in short. So for the example of somebody bringing 20% down, or somebody with the 80% loan to value, they will need 80 cents on the dollar for every dollar their appraisal comes in short. So if their appraisal comes in short by 10 grand, they're going to roughly need an additional $8,000. Now, it's not exact because there's some things that change, like title premiums and other things, but it's very, very close. If somebody is doing a 10% down loan and they're at a 90% loan to value and their appraisal comes in $10,000 short, they're going to need about 9 grand extra at closing.
Perfect, thank you. And then just one other question, then we'll wrap up, is, and you did hit upon this briefly, but if you get mortgage insurance, does that affect the interest rate of the loan? And I believe you said it does, but very, very minimally.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people know this, but when you put 20% down on a house, your interest rate is actually slightly higher than somebody who's putting 15 or 10% down. Why would that be? And what are you talking about? Everybody that I talk to always, unless they're in the mortgage business, thinks that 20% down gets you the best rate, but that isn't actually true. Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac have what are called loan level price adjustments. And when Fannie and Freddie know the mortgage is insured, it actually makes it just slightly less risky than somebody who's putting down exactly 20%. So ironically, the 20% down buyer has a slightly worse rates, which is kind of weird. I think it's counterintuitive for a lot of people, but that is actually the way it works. So,
but
it's
conversely,
what's that?
But on the other hand, the person that has maybe a slightly better rate is paying for mortgage insurance. Therefore, that's why we do APRs, so we can figure out at the very end of the day, what am I paying on my interest?
Right.
With all fees included.
Yep.
Can you go back to your screen showing your information, just so that anyone wants to dig in more, a little more in depth, they can contact
reach out to you directly,
and
because this is very thorough. Thank you so very much.
I love your presentation.
Yeah,
I mean, thanks for taking the time to put such a nice presentation together. I mean, that just shows.
Yeah, well, I put it together actually a while ago before my girl got sick, so the night before the sales meeting. So.
That's right.
So I'm glad I got to use it, and I'm sorry I couldn't do it in person. Yeah, that was very fast, and there's some assumptions built into this. So if you guys watch this and are interested and have questions because it just was a little too quick, feel free to reach out, and I'll be happy to fill in those gaps.
Yeah, and as always, we're here as a resource, whether or not you're using OWN, Amir for your personal transaction or your client's transaction. We are here to help support you guys. So use us. Amir is a great resource.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Thank you so much, Amir. Really appreciate your time and
Thanks
sharing your knowledge.
Guys.
All right.
Have a great day.
You too. All right. Oh, how do we go back to this screen?
I don't know.
I don't either. This is what I was looking for earlier, Paul. It's like somehow I found it.
You found it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So back
And
to
I
our
was
presentation
back to our
here.
presentation. Get back on. Facebook seems to be working. Sorry about those little
Little hiccups there.
hiccups. I don't know. Yeah. So, our next little subject here is the answer in the contract to buy and sell common items that are often overlooked. So you want to kind of segue us there, Stacy? Why we picked this?
Yeah, so we picked this topic for the sales meeting because there are a lot of questions that come up on a regular basis with, does my buyer have the right to do this? Or if this happens, what do we do? And oftentimes we say, what does your contract say? So we wanted to point out some of these key things that you may not even realize are in the contract, just to help you with your business.
Yeah, and as you know, many of you that call the support hotline, Paul's been answering that now for, a good 8 months. And of course, Stacy and I are right behind him with the answer in the event that Paul doesn't know the answer. But he has learned so much because most of the questions that are asked, most, the answers are in the contract. And so it's really, that's why we're trying to show you guys that they're in the contract so that maybe you don't even have to pick up the support line. You know that they're just right there in the contract.
You just have to find them.
Yeah, the tough ones that we're really working with Paul and we're always working on are scenarios. What do you do when? Things that aren't just cut and dry sitting in the contract, but that's usually dealing with clients. You know, what do you do? But a lot of the stuff that we get asked, we just go straight to the contract. We're not making up
An
opinions.
answer or
We're
an
not
opinion.
coming up with stuff. It's right in the contract. So, yeah, we'll start with the first one. This is a good one.
This first one I wanted to point out, a lot of the seasoned agents realize that this is in the contract. It's been there for a while, but some of our newer agents don't know that with an FHA or a VA loan, appraisal deadlines do not apply. So anybody who has an FHA or VA buyer, if you're putting in an appraisal objection deadline, an appraisal resolution deadline, those are just merely a suggestion to help move the transaction along. Mr. Appraiser, we'd like to have the appraisal back by this date, but really they don't apply. So the appraisal could come in a week before closing and you guys are fine. And this is one thing that we wanted to point out because when you hear that FHA and VA loans are maybe slightly less desirable to a seller, this is one of the reasons, is because there is not a specific termination deadline that once you get through, the buyer doesn't have the ability to get the earnest money back. With an FHA or a VA buyer, they can terminate on a low appraisal all the way up until the day of closing.
So, what if the buyer writes in an appraisal gap? This question we're getting often now.
Yeah, this is coming up a lot.
So it's an FHA or VA, and they put in additional provisions that the buyer's willing to cover a $10,000 appraisal gap. We have the question asked to us, can they still back out just because of this FHA, VA termination?
So the answer is yes and no. If the appraisal comes in shorter than the appraisal gap they're willing to bridge, yes, the buyer has the right to terminate. If it falls within, say, a $10,000 appraisal gap, then no. The additional provision language overrides the buyer's ability to terminate because they said, we will bridge the gap by this amount.
So, this section applies to contracts that do not have appraisal gaps, that are just regular appraisals, and yes, they can terminate, get their earnest money back. When you write in an additional provision with an appraisal gap, if it falls in the gap,
your buyer's held to that.
they're held to that. So that's a good one.
Yeah. So, all right, scenario number 2. And if you guys have any questions on these scenarios as we're going through them, feel free to type it in the comment section below. So oil and gas, do you want to run with this one?
So the reason I'm putting this in here is we had a question on Facebook a week ago. One of our agents had a seller in the property disclosure, I believe,
On the MLS.
on the MLS that said that the oil and gas and mineral rights were not included with the property. And we're like, oh my gosh,
They
what
were
do we
being
do?
excluded.
And this is just, bizarre. We don't ever hear. No. We always have had this in here that says this might happen. So 8.7.1 to 8.7.4, I'll read it briefly, but it says oil, gas, water disclosure, that the surface estate of the property may be owned separately from underlying mineral estate, and transfer of the estate may not necessarily include transfer of the mineral or water rights. Briefly, this is something that's very unique to Colorado. Oftentimes, the mineral, water, oil, gas rights are not transferred with the property. Things above your property and things below your property oftentimes are not being transferred. This is not something that's a big, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. Now, just because the water or the mineral rights aren't being transferred doesn't mean somebody has the right to come onto your property. This is where your title is very important to be reviewing this.
Yeah,
are there
your title
easements?
commitment.
Your title commitment. Are there easements disclosing that ABC Drilling has the right to
access
your property and things like that? So that will give you a real good clue of, oh my gosh, they can come on my property, erect a drill, a well, whatever, and then go down. Oftentimes what's happening is this allows fracking. They can go underneath. They might have rights to the property adjoining or the property next to the property next to the property, and go underneath, not be on the surface of your property, and extract. So anyway, it's not something to be like, oh my gosh, I've never heard of somebody saying that these rights aren't being transferred, because oftentimes they're not. But it is something that your buyer wants to look into.
Exactly.
For sure.
And especially if a seller is excluding mineral rights, you want to make sure that there aren't rights that tie to the property and the seller understands the value of those and they're wanting to retain them themselves.
Yeah.
So another good question for title.
And it was a great question that I think it was Wes who asked it. And again, please ask the support hotline. Contract questions are not supposed to go on Facebook, and you'll rarely see us answer those questions on Facebook. We'll usually call that agent and discuss it with them and then bring it back here. So please call the support hotline. I'm thinking that seller might maybe know something. Maybe they actually knew that they did not have those rights and somebody had the right to get to them. And so it was a good heads up for that buyer to dig in deeper.
Yep.
And we don't want to be the people who are digging into it. We want to direct them. You need to call the title company. You need to call the water resource, whatever it's reflected to. You're the person kind of directing, but not
the one supplying the information.
Yeah.
Because if you accidentally get it wrong or someone provides you misinformation, then you're held liable and responsible when your buyer comes back and said, you said that this was the case. So.
And Wes, you might want to pull up that. I can't read the rest of this thing, but
yeah.
yeah, Wes is on here right now. So
Yeah, perfect. Thanks, Wes.
yeah. So the next one, 10.2, disclosure of adverse material facts, subsequent disclosure, present condition.
So we get a lot of questions. My buyer wants to purchase the home as is and not do an inspection, or the seller wrote in the MLS the home is to be sold as is. Do you have language for the additional provisions? My response and Paul's response is no, it's already reflected in section 10.2. All homes are sold in as-is condition, where is, with all faults, unless the contract is amended to reflect something differently. So when a buyer writes an offer, they're already buying the home as is. They then have the right to conduct the inspection, and if they find something that they want to negotiate with the seller, you do your inspection objection, your inspection resolution, and then any items outlined there will be repaired. But otherwise, home is as-is condition.
It's always starts out as is, and I think the question, or why we see people throw this in, is the seller puts the house on the market and says, I'm not doing anything, I'm not fixing anything, I'm selling it as is, and the agent says, oh, well, I'll write that in, that it's as is. It is as is. A seller is never obligated to make any repairs.
Never.
Period. A seller is never obligated. Well, what if it's health and a seller is never obligated to make any repairs?
Health, safety, doesn't matter.
Period. Period.
Yes.
And we get hung up on that sometimes. But what if? Never.
Nope.
Never.
Even if it's the sewer line, what if it's a bad roof?
Nope.
Nope. They
Nope.
they can say no. And
Yeah.
the buyer has to determine do they want to absorb that and make a repair after they close.
Perfect. So 10.2, as is.
As is. There you have it.
10.4.
So the scenario is, what happens if the buyer's conducting the home inspection, and during the home inspection, the home inspector breaks the garage door opener or lifts a toilet to do a sewer scope and damages something? Who's responsible? It's all outlined in section 10.4. The buyer is responsible for any damage incurred by inspections, tests, surveys, engineer reports, people that have performed any work on the property. It's the buyer's responsibility to repair it.
Who knew? It's in the contract.
It's in the contract.
And we literally had a question, I don't know, a week or two ago where this happened. We had an inspector, they did something to the property, they had to get behind a wall, or I can't remember what the scenario was, but they actually broke something, damaged something. It's like, oh my gosh, what do we do?
Does the seller have to pay for it? The seller's angry. Is the buyer responsible? Is the inspector responsible? And most of the time, home inspectors are insured, and so they can always rope their insurance company in and help with the damage. But ultimately, as the contract's written, it is the buyer's responsibility to make sure that that damage is taken care of.
So another great paragraph that's in that contract, and that's really, I highly encourage everyone, especially those who've been in the business a long time, because we have forgotten everything that's in it, and take a page a day. Take a page a day for the next 10 days.
Sentence.
And read, and you go, oh my gosh, that's in there. But we're bringing these to light.
So I pulled in section 10.6.1.1 because this is the section in which you write out any leases that the property may have. And I think in our minds, when we think leases, we think tenant. We think the property is currently rented and the new buyer is going to absorb that occupancy agreement. And yes, that is correct. Anytime there's a tenant in there, the tenant doesn't automatically vacate the property when the new buyer purchases unless they're on a month-to-month lease. The new buyer absorbs the remaining terms of that lease, and that needs to be outlined here so that the buyer, as part of their due diligence, can determine whether that is a tenant in a lease agreement they want to take on. The other important reason for highlighting this section is when there's solar panels that are leased. They're supposed to be put in this section. If you don't put them in this section, the buyer doesn't have the right to terminate the contract if the solar agreement and the remaining balance on the solar lease doesn't meet their expectations. So this is a really important section for those two reasons.
So
do we have a question?
We're going to go back. We got a question.
We're looking at questions.
Yeah, got a question back on the transfer of mineral rights and well rights. So Erica, if a property owner does not have these rights transferred and a drilling company wants to use their land, who would the drilling company contact? So it's not a matter of ABC Drilling has the rights to your property and it's just open-ended like that, and they just call up the seller and say, no. It would have to be in the title report that they have rights to the property and what those rights entail. Are they subsurface? Or are they surface? Two different things. Mm-hmm. Subsurface means underneath the ground, and they don't have the right to come onto your property and drive their rigs and erect a whole drill. They just have the right to find a way underneath, which means they're not contacting you. They're not calling you. They're going to have to frack and come from another property to get underneath, and they can't, do anything to your property. This is all going to be very well written into.
Yeah, it's like recorded.
Into the recorded. Yeah, this is recorded instrument. This is
you can pull up on county records.
Yeah, this isn't a quick little, hey, we have the rights to your property and we'll give you a shout. So it will be extremely definitive on how it works. If they have the right to the surface, it's going to say, hey, they've got an easement that's a 20-foot easement on this part of the property. I mean, it's going to be extremely specific. And again, it's not going to say, hey, we have to give you a call. No, if they have the right to that property and it's written as an easement and it's recorded, they just show up one day and start drilling. This is very rare. That's not out there. But it could be out there. So it's a great thing to always be cognizant of when you're reviewing your title report.
Especially if you're in rural parts of Colorado.
Yes.
If
This
you're
isn't
in
happening in
Highlands
Highlands Ranch or downtown Denver.
Yeah, but if you're in rural parts of Colorado.
You're up in Kiowa, you might have water rights. You're up in, I don't know, east of Greeley. I mean, but it's going to be recorded and it's going to be very specific. But yeah, there's no communication of, hey, I'm
coming over on Friday.
No. It's just like right now, all of us have, whether it's Excel or Comcast or, most of us have easements on all of our properties where the electric company and the cable company, they don't call us up to say they're coming out to our property.
They can come and service if they need to.
They can come and service. So it'd be the same type of thing, but it's going to be extremely explicit.
So Beth says, so I'm seeing a lot of seller will not be supplying SPD in the MLS, or I'm seeing a lot of blank SPDs once we get to that point. So whether they do or do not, or disclose or not, the buyer finds out later that the seller did not something. Meth lab, for example, buyer still has rights to correct. So whether the seller fills out an SPD or not, if they know a material fact about the property, they have to disclose it. Period.
And hopefully you notice that the new word we're using. We used to say material defect, which kind of made us think that there's, dry rot or something broken. Material fact, which means if they know of anything that may cause a buyer to not want to move forward with the purchase, meaning it's a bad roof, it had a leak, things that I can't just find by just staring at myself. There's a freeway going in, there's a school being built. I mean, any material fact.
The neighbors tend to throw parties till 3 a.m. on Friday evenings. That is a material fact.
Those have to be disclosed.
Yeah, so a meth lab would be included in that. And yes, if the buyer finds something out after the fact during the transaction, they do have the right to approach the seller for remedy purposes.
Yeah. So that's very important. I mean, these are things that people can get sued over. Definitely. It's the number one complaint at the Real Estate Commission between buyers and sellers and agents is non-disclosure of material facts, not defects.
And just because your client refuses to fill out a seller's property disclosure doesn't alleviate them from that obligation.
Yeah. You can't say, I didn't know. Period. If you knew, you got to tell.
You got to tell. Exactly.
Good questions.
All right, so what happens if we're a week from closing and the hot water heater goes out in the property? You represent the buyer and you get the phone call from the listing agent. Hey, the hot water heater just broke. What do we do?
I don't know. Call the agent.
Let's call Paul at the support hotline. Paul, what do we do? Well, fortunately, Section 19.2 spells out everything. If there is something in the property that breaks, whether it's hot water heater, furnace, utilities, communication services, it needs to be repaired. It's very nice that this outlines a unit of similar size, age, quality, or an equivalent credit. So you could do a seller concession in lieu of the repair. So
repeat that though. So that does not say I will replace it with a brand new,
state-of-the-art, super efficient.
So it's a 20-year hot water heater. You made an offer on the property. We're a week from closing. It goes out. They are not required to give you a brand new hot water heater. They're required to give you a similar, equivalent, same condition, working, but not new, which most likely means you guys are going to come to negotiations on a value of what was that thing worth.
Yep.
Okay, that obviously if it's 20 years old, you knew it, You were buying the house, you made the offer, you know the condition of the place, you were fine with it, and you probably had in your head, I'm going to have to replace that someday. Well, if the thing falls apart, you think, no, if you can give me a couple $100, I'll take it.
Yep.
So just remember, when you're helping your clients negotiate back and forth, seller and buyer, that
You're setting the right expectations.
exactly.
Because if your buyer wants a new furnace that's a 90% efficiency to replace the old furnace
And we
that
see
just
this.
went
We
out.
see this all the time. This happens.
Yeah, that is not a proper expectation. But you know what? If you're the buyer's agent and you can negotiate that one through on their behalf, more power to you.
Yeah.
It's at least worth a shot. But knowing on the seller side, if you've got a buyer's agent or a buyer trying to strong arm you, you can point out this section and say, no, we're going to, per the contract, replace it with something similar age, quality, or an equivalency. So.
And you're probably going to forget that it was 19.2 and all the terminology, but I'm hoping that you remember in the back of your head, the house that I saw and the way it looked, it's supposed to be the same way when my buyer gets it. And if something is different, it broke, not working the way it was day one, I'm pretty sure there's something in the contract that said we're supposed to get it right, and I'm going to go back and look and dig.
If it's a bigger, like a water claim or, some severe damage. So yeah, it references that as well.
So speaking of the property being in the same condition day one as it is when we close, what's a good way to make sure that it kind of looks the same?
My favorite way is to conduct a final walkthrough. So you should always do a final walkthrough with your buyer. And occasionally, and this was actually fairly common during last year, during the height of COVID, a lot of sellers were saying, I don't want the buyer to come through the house prior to closing. And we would get the call, does my buyer have the right to do a final walkthrough? And the answer is absolutely yes. It is section 19.4, and it is spelled out upon reasonable notice. So not an hour before, you got to actually let the seller's agent and the seller know a few days in advance. Upon reasonable notice, buyer has the right to walk through the property prior to closing to verify that the physical condition of the property and inclusions complies with this contract. Walkthroughs are a great time to verify inspection requests if you guys are able to negotiate inspection repairs, to make sure that those were done to expectations, and just to make sure that everything looks the way it did when the contract was written. So, section 19.4.
Now, you brought up inspections. And I've seen people in inspection resolutions write in ABC to be corrected and repaired prior to closing. I prefer, and I'm sure you say this on the hotline, a specific date, which is several days prior to closing. And I like dates.
Yeah,
but,
and there's a place on the inspection resolution to put the date in which those items have
so
to be repaired.
don't say prior to closing, because that could be the day of closing or an hour before closing, and I don't have time to go look and see if this is done.
Verified.
And if it's not fixed or done, I'm the buyer. I've got no leverage. I have to close in an hour. I want you to fix it. So make sure that in your inspection resolution, you're giving,
At least 3 days.
3-4 days, depending on what the project needed to be done. And then do a walkthrough right after that. Not the day of closing again. So if there's important things that you need to make sure are taken care of, that you weren't sure that were going to be taken care of, you look at those 3 days prior to closing and go, great, they fixed the dry rot or they replaced that broken window or whatever, so that in the event your buyer shows up and go, they didn't fix it.
You have time to get a
You've
contractor.
got time to get it fixed or remedied without going, oh my gosh, I have to go to closing in an hour. And you might then renegotiate, fix whatever you got to do, and do another walkthrough. There might be 2 walkthroughs.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, in one of our Tuesday talks, we actually addressed double walkthroughs and how they're a more common thing than they used to be, because you're validating that inspection items have been done several days before closing, and then the last walkthrough is the an hour before closing once that seller is moved out. And then of course you have those, well, what do we do when there's a post-closing occupancy agreement? Well, that's a whole separate discussion.
And Rocio just posted that. But yes, still do a walkthrough with a post-closing occupancy.
Yeah, even if there's a post-closing occupancy, still do a walkthrough.
Yep, you want to make sure you're getting the house the way you're supposed to be getting the house.
Yeah.
And now you become the landlord, and you want to make sure you get the house the way you're supposed to get the house after they vacate. But that has to do with your...
I just made this recommendation to another agent. I recommend that your buyer, not necessarily you, but your buyer go through and take pictures or video when a seller has a post-closing occupancy agreement in place. That way, if there is any damage to the property, there's not this fight of, no, that hole was in the wall when you guys did your final walkthrough. You can actually pull up pictures and video and say, no, I did this, it's time-stamped, I did this on my walkthrough the day of closing, and it shows that damage was not there, or that door was not scuffed, or that ding was not in the refrigerator. So yeah, I recommend that they document everything.
Regardless of who you're representing.
Yes, yes.
If you're representing the seller, we're going to recommend that they take a video. If you're representing the buyer, we're going to recommend that you take a video or pictures, no matter what. Because we do see people trying to keep the deposit for repairs that weren't agreed to during the contract. A worn carpet, I couldn't get new carpeting replaced, and now they're becoming a renter, and the carpet still looks bad, but now they're going to claim that they made it bad while they're being a renter or something. So regardless of what side you're on, advise your client to document the condition of the property so that you either need to retain the deposit or you're trying to keep from having someone take your deposit going. They're just trying to get my money from me as a seller because they couldn't get it in the negotiating as a list of the sale. So either way, protect your clients.
Yep. All right, let's check questions real
Anything
quick.
on that, Paul? You got anything?
Oh, you nailed that. I was nodding in agreement because that's what I was going to mention to you. You're right on, as always.
So Beth, I believe we already answered that question. Do you have a recommendation of doing the walkthrough the day of closing of the day before?
Yep, I think we got that.
So yep, we already got that one taken care of. Thank you for asking that. I think that's it.
Cool.
Good questions, you guys.
So we did this a couple months ago. Let's see.
Yeah, so we actually have gone a little bit longer on this last segment than I thought. So I was going to do a statistics presentation. I'm actually going to cut that down. I'm still going to do it. I don't know if you want to pull us up on the screen because I don't have any slides to show for this. It's just going to be me kind of rattling off some quick stats. It's been months since I've gone over stats with you guys, so I thought it might be helpful if you just have some, rapid fire things at your fingertips. So the most significant one, historically, the average increase in active listings from April to May is 8%. So as we come into May, we typically tend to see a little bit more inventory. So May this year, we experienced a decrease of 20%. So rather than gaining 8% in listings, we lost 20% in listings.
So that's a 28% swing.
Yeah. So it's on record ever. Not just for May, but ever. So that was a good one. So active listings are down 71% for May of this year compared to May of last year. I think that goes without saying. It was COVID, height of shutdown. Nobody could really buy anything unless they saw it via photos and videos. So that makes sense. Compared to April, we're 20% down.
Wow.
Compared to May of last year.
Well, yeah.
So.
We were down 40% last year.
Yeah. Average sales price is up 26% compared to May of 2020.
You guys all see that.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
So sales price is up 26% over a 1 year period of time. That's absolutely insane. So the new average sales price for May was $700,000 for detached single family homes.
Oh.
COVID May, prices averaged at $542,000. That's a $158,000 difference. That's a lot. So for detached single family, your condos, your townhomes, your duplexes, we topped out at an average sales price of $449 for May, compared to last year that was $367. So a significant increase there. Days in the MLS from active and under contract, active to under contract.
If you're new to the industry,
This is
this
not
is
normal.
not the way. This is a new normal, and I don't think it's going to be a normal forever. But this is crazy. Yeah, I get people. Have you ever seen? No, I've
No,
never.
no.
30 some years in the no, nothing like this.
So another fun tip, listings are closing at 105% above asking price. So if your buyer's looking at a house and they're like, what should we offer? They at least need to, that's the average. So one other tidbit that I'll share on statistics. So new listings enter the market every day. We are starting to see a little bit more inventory here and there. We saw a little bit pop up during the Memorial weekend, which is actually kind of nice. But not all days are created equal. So Thursdays actually have the highest amount of new listings coming on the market. 39% of new listings hit on Thursdays. Wednesdays, 23% of new listings hit. Fridays are 8%, make up 5% of the new listings. So get your buyers ready on Wednesday
Yeah.
to go house hunting, because Wednesday, Thursday, Friday is when
That's
those
when
new
they're coming
listings
on.
hit. So one other thing that I found really interesting that I wanted to share is most of you are probably seeing with the builder community, the new construction community, what we've been seeing for quite a while, and that's that prices are going up, costs are going up. Lumber's 300% higher this year than it was last year. What's really unique now is instead of the lottery system where you go in, you pay your earnest money, you get a number, and then when they do a lot release, all the people with the numbers show up, and if number one's there, they get to pick their lot. If number two's there, they get to pick their lot, and you go all the way down the line. Instead of doing the lottery now, they're auctioning lots off to the highest bidder. So here's the fun fact. The remaining custom lots in Columbine Valley's Wild Plum subdivision will be auctioned off to the highest bidder. No more lottery system.
Wow.
There's your stats and market insight.
Interesting times.
Very interesting.
Interesting times.
So,
Thank you for that.
yeah, you're welcome.
So
Now we're on to
now we're on
a
to
really fun segment.
pop quiz.
Yes.
This is what we did a few months ago.
Yeah, we did this back in
We
March.
had fun.
It was
with
a lot of fun.
Yeah. So we'll do it again today.
So the rules of the pop quiz. We are going to read off the question. We have it on a slide this time because some of you guys said, can you repeat it? So we're actually going to pop the slide up, and the first person to answer in the chat box with the correct answer wins a $10 gift card. We'll have 5 questions.
And depending on your internet speed and your typing skills, this is not a perfect scenario, but it's still fun anyway.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll learn.
Get ready.
A big disclaimer, because we are having people comment about connectivity issues. So refresh your browser.
Yeah, refresh your browser. If you're not watching this in real time,
You can't play.
you can't play. Yeah, but poor Eileen last time, she jumped in and started watching the whole video 5 minutes after we had started.
So she was
So she's
delayed
answering all the questions, going, how am I not? So you must be live.
in real time.
In real time. And you're only going to know you're live if you were here from the get-go. Or, yeah, that's about it. So,
So yeah, Pam, I know you're having a lot of connectivity issues. Close your browser out and pop it back open. Everybody else, I think, is A-okay. So, all right.
yeah. So
So we'll give it a shot.
give it a shot. We seem to have a good connection here, so I
Yeah,
think
we've
it's...
got great internet here today. So,
Yeah.
Hey, Todd, be careful not to show the answers on the little thumbnails down there to the left.
oh, good call. Let's close our thumbnails out, please.
Or just keep it scrolled up there. Or go full screen mode, maybe.
Oh.
Yeah, let's do full screen mode. Thanks, Paul. No cheaters in this room.
Oh, no, this is serious business, guys.
Yeah,
All right.
this is important stuff.
Okay, you guys all ready? Give us a thumbs up in the comment section. Ready, ready.
Okay.
Let's do our pop quiz. Question number 1, fire away. How would you formally withdraw an inspection objection? How do you formally withdraw an inspection objection?
Darn it, Paul, we were going to make the little music. Yeah.
I like Philip Candela's comment. Shh, Paul. Like, Philip was already on to this.
I was contemplating not saying anything because I was wondering who actually caught it. Probably brought more attention to it.
That's
than I needed to.
awesome. So Allison Lashschmidt says, sign the inspection objection. Rocio says, signing section 2 of the inspection objection. Pam says, wave at the bottom of the inspection objection. Tanya, through the same form. Philip, smiley.
Thank you for not posting your answer, Philip.
Oh, that's awesome. So let's take a look at the answer. The answer is sign section 2 of the inspection objection before the inspection objection deadline. So although I'd like to give Allison credit, sign the inspection objection, you weren't specific in what section, because you can sign the inspection objection in section 1 when you submit, but to withdraw you actually have to do it in section 2. So Rocio is the correct first answer with signing section 2 of the inspection objection. We threw in the additional before the inspection objection deadline, because that's an important key
Yeah.
component.
I'm thinking Allison was just
I
wanted to type
know.
it so quick. She
I
knew the
know.
answer, but she just wanted to get that
I know.
entered.
I'd love to
So-
give her credit, but we're just detail.
Well, we're appreciative that you knew that you can sign this.
Yes, it doesn't take an
'Cause,
amendment.
yeah, we do have people asking us this question often. How do I remove this?
It's not a phone call to the listing agent.
Yeah. In the event you do not remove your inspection objection and you have not come to terms on your resolution agreement, what happens?
I know.
Paul, answer.
Paul,
The deal that is dead.
your deal's dead.
Contract automatically terminates at 11:59 on your inspection objection deadline.
So yeah, if you have not resolved it due to your resolution deadline and this is ticking, got a dead deal.
Yep,
So yeah.
exactly. Good job.
All right,
Rocio.
question number 2.
Where can you find Equity Colorado's company W-9 form? Where can you find Equity Colorado's company W-9 form?
Why would you ever need this? So, real estate companies are supposed to be getting the company W-9 form when they're having a co-op transaction with you so that we can 1099 each other at the end of the day. Do not. You will get an email. The companies are good at asking for this. Coldwell is pretty good at asking for it. Sometimes Keller will ask for it.
All new construction builders.
New construction builders will ask for it, but they make it sound like it's your W-9. Do not ever give your W-9 to anyone. You do not collect commissions directly. You're paid through the company. So please always use our W-9. Don't hand out your information. We don't want your social security numbers or EINs floating out there. So
we've got a lot of people answering with the correct question.
Oh.
Paul, do you want to check your feed and see who you show as the first respondent?
Yes. Real quick, I added a comment. Are there any specific pages in Elevate? Since we have so many good answers for Elevate, what's the specific?
oh,
But to confirm, I have Katie Markman on my end with the first answer for Elevate.
way to go,
All
Katie.
right, good job, Katie.
Good job, Katie. And everybody else.
Go
Great
ahead
job.
and
I'm
pop
glad
to
you
the
guys
next
know
slide
that
with
answer.
the
Sorry.
answer.
Yep, answer. Elevate, of course. So it's under forms, general forms, and then equity W-9. That's the exact spot to get it. Where is it not?
Everywhere else.
Not on the support hotline.
Yeah, and you know what? This form, you can download it and save it to your desktop. So anytime you
save
need
it.
to reference it,
Go
you've
get
always
it.
got it.
Yeah, go get
Yep.
it. Number 3.
Who is the current president of the National Association of Realtors?
No Googling. No Googling.
Oh, yes. Somebody's going to Google it.
I want
know it.
to see if anyone just knows off the top of their head. I'd be pretty impressed.
Well,
We've got some people that are pretty hip to NAR. Not on the Facebook page.
Thanks, Philip.
Yeah.
Oh.
No, it was me.
You guys are cracking me up with your answers. So, all right, I'm excited to see who knows who the current NAR president is. I actually did not. I remembered who the previous year's president was.
And
And I know who the
I personally
incoming-
had forgotten, but once I did look it up, I'm like, oh, yes, I know it's
This
him.
person.
Yes.
So,
Because these people are around. I mean, you start as, it's a 3-year journey of when you're elect and prior, and yeah. So this gentleman's been around for a while.
yep.
No.
Well, we have just a little bit of a delay with the questions
Oh,
and the feed,
true.
so.
Yeah.
All right, so I do see one pop up, Paul, who, I want to make sure that we have the same
Yeah.
person. I showed Gina on my end.
Correct.
As
Yep,
the-
I just saw Gina's come in.
All right.
Okay, perfect. So
And if you
Gina,
Googled it, way to go.
Gina Arms has the correct answer, Charlie Oppler.
Charlie Oppler. Good guy.
Nice job.
Good guy. Yeah, in this last year, it's been kind of, you haven't felt NAR as much because you can't go to all the events and conferences and things like that. But hopefully, San Diego is actually on the list for next November for NAR.
This November or next November?
This coming November, I believe.
Oh, how fun.
Yeah.
Let's all go to San Diego.
So, yeah, when we get more information,
We'll send
we'll
that
really
out to you.
talk about
Because those
that.
conferences, they really are great.
yeah.
They-
And San Diego is one of the best places to go to these conferences.
So,
So,
All right.
anyway, Charlie Oppler.
good job, Gina.
Yeah, our own Kenny Parcell, who works for Equity, he's in Utah, in 2 more years. So we got Charlie, and then, I can't think of the gal's name, that's coming after Charlie, and then Kenny Parcell with Equity. That's pretty
Yeah,
impressive.
so that'll be exciting.
Yeah. Number
Question
4.
number 4. How does a buyer make their earnest money non-refundable? Or for all of us old school realtors, go hard. How does a buyer make their earnest money non-refundable or go hard?
Yeah, I mean, put the go. A lot of us use that term, and then, we've got brand new agents going, what are we even talking about?
So the
yeah.
non-refundable part's for you.
Non-refundable is for you, yes. And I prefer that term myself. So yeah, what's the best way to do this? We have taught this in the past.
So we've got Katie Markman saying additional provisions. We have Julie Felsen saying add to additional provisions. I see loan termination. I see additional provisions. Put in additional provisions. State in additional provisions. We've got
What
another one for additional provisions.
Is the best way, and we have taught this in the past.
Oh, ding, ding, ding. Philip Candela, get past all objections. It's very close.
I mean, when you're past all the objections,
Your
then it
earnest
has,
money is non-refundable.
then it has. But if I'm going to make it non-refundable to begin with, what's the best way? Philip?
Philip, do you want to elaborate on that?
You might get half a gift card on this.
Exactly.
So close.
This is a tricky one. Yeah, do you see any other comments popping up on your end, Paul, that maybe I'm not seeing?
Those all matched. The only one that was right after Katie was Lori Raditz with additional provisions.
All right, so I do see Allison Lashmit just popped up. Remove all contingencies.
That matches my end. Just seconds.
Seconds
before
later,
Phillips.
Philip chimed in with
Yeah.
remove objections. So,
Okay, we might give out a couple gift cards for this.
Yes.
Because I'm very happy with Philip
yes.
understanding the premise. But was it, who said Allison?
So it was Allison that
But Allison
actually...
getting what we were looking for. So, first off, no to additional provisions. Please do not
Yep.
write earnest money to be non-refundable in additional provisions. We've done a class on this. We've got probably a Tuesday talk on this. Our attorney at Frascona, Joyner, Goodman, and Greenstein, John Goodman, has a very good video on this. The best way for all parties concerned is to delete the dates and deadlines that are in the buyer's favor as far as loan contingency, inspection, appraisal, on and on. The more contingencies you get rid of or shorten, the quicker the earnest money has gone hard.
If you want to do a fully non-refundable earnest money from the time you write that offer, that means you have no dates and deadlines on that date and deadline chart. No title commitment. No HOA docs.
You've got a closing date.
You have a closing date, and that is it.
And an earnest money deadline. Right?
And an earnest money deadline.
And
yeah.
an earnest money,
Yeah,
yes.
possession date.
And the reason we don't want to write additional provisions, what if the seller defaults? There's things in the contract that the seller has to perform on. And if you just say it's non-refundable to begin with, then we have an issue in the event that the seller doesn't perform or defaults. It doesn't state when you write earnest money, buyer's earnest money to be non-refundable. Boop, that's all you write. Seller defaults, doesn't close, he's going to keep
the buyer's earnest money, and your buyer doesn't get a house.
Yeah, so that doesn't work. So please do not. And it's just so much stronger. It's such a stronger offer when you remove those dates and deadlines. And again, we did a class on this. We got a Tuesday talk because some of you are going to go, what do you mean I can remove loan conditions? I can remove appraisal. Doesn't the lender? Yes, the lender has their own world. They're still going to be getting stuff from your client. They're still going to be requiring certain things.
But you're just saying buyer's not going to terminate.
You're just saying the buyer's going to lose their earnest money. They're going to do everything in their best possible way with the lender. But if something doesn't work out with the lender, I'm losing my earnest money. So they're rolling the dice that they're 100% confident moving forward.
So just really limit those dates and deadlines to your title, your property insurance. Maybe you do have an inspection or you don't have an inspection, but the fewer dates and deadlines you have, the quicker that earnest money becomes non-refundable. So
please do not write in non-refundable.
Yep.
That is not a proper way to do that.
Yep. All right, Philip, I'll send you a $5 gift card too.
You're right there. You're right there.
So let's see, question. What about if you want to make only a portion of the earnest money non-refundable after inspection objection deadline? That is a great question, Deb, and we actually have a Frascona clause for that. And so, yeah, you can do a tiered non-refundable earnest money in by this date or at this point in the contract, this amount of earnest money will become non-refundable. And there is an actual attorney written clause for that. So.
Yep, and those clauses can be found on CTM and on .loop and on Elevate. Elevate's probably the easiest way to see the whole.
They don't have all of them though.
Oh, don't
on
they?
Elevate. We don't have all of them on
I thought we had
Elevate.
the whole
There's
list.
like 82 of them, and we don't have all of them.
We got the.
We have the PDF that
We have that
explains.
addendum that explains.
So
them. Yeah.
CTM and .loop are going to be your best bet. But yeah, those tiered earnest money non-refundables work really, really well.
Yep.
So.
All right.
All right.
Last one.
Final
We're
question.
holding you guys over. Sorry, but it's. This. Who took notes? What section?
Give me the section number. Who's paying attention or who's multitasking?
Who's looking for the contract?
I know. Somebody's going through their contract right now. I can
Somebody
feel
had to
it.
take notes. You guys were just so into this. You're like, I'm taking notes on this one.
Yep. So I do have someone saying they lost the feed. Hopefully that comes back.
Looks like we still got 28 people, so I think it's good. Sandra, it might be your internet.
I see
Yeah.
third one.
Yeah.
31 now, yep.
All right. So who's got it?
Oh, Deb Mullins.
Paul, do you show Deb on your side? With the correct
I
answer?
showed Deb.
All right, perfect, because we had
Katie
multiple come in.
close second place.
So Deb Moen says section 19.4.
19.4.
Great job taking notes. Awesome.
And Katie, you're a close second.
Yeah, close second. Allison, Julie, nice job, you guys. Pam got it. Good job.
Yeah, there's a bunch coming in now.
All right,
All
moving
right.
on quickly.
Yeah, thanks for playing our game.
Holding you guys up a little bit. Sorry about that.
I'll mail out your cards here in the next day or so. So
Yep.
expect some happy mail in the coming days.
But oh my gosh, another record month. I mean, it's just amazing what you guys are doing. So congratulations to all Power Pro winners here. But our top sales agent for the month in number of in volume is Brooke Van Havermaet with 3,027,000 in sales at 3 transactions, and then the most transactions, Pam Bellier with 5 transactions.
Wow, that's a heck of a month.
Congratulations to both of you.
Good job, ladies.
And it's fun to see the two of you. That's a new top tier. I haven't seen you guys on the top for a little while, so that's exciting.
That's very exciting. Congratulations.
And look at this list. We've got so many people doing good stuff. It's awesome. So, Stephanie Fellhauer, 4 transactions. Denise Dixon, 4 transactions. Gina Arms, 4 transactions. Tanya Brown, 4 transactions. Valerie Genghis, 4 transactions. Amazing. Allison Lashman, 3 transactions. Amy Randolph with 3 transactions. Zara Befar, 3 transactions. Mario Lombardi with 3. Sandra Shaler, 3. Janet Romero with 3. Najud Ho, 3. Joyce Michael Carter, Reagan Grant, Ernie Quemmel, Anna Nalani, Ashley Bollerdick, Kelly Thayer, Diane Mueller. I need to move our bar because I can't see names. Kaya Resch, Karina Podensny, Vicky Hofer, Lauren Miles, Todd Smith, Peter Drugsma, and Joyce Benelli.
Wow.
Wow.
Big round of applause
that is
for you
amazing.
guys.
Congratulations
And it's
to
a
all
tough
of you.
market.
It's a amazingly tough market, and you guys, you're getting your offers accepted, which means you're getting your clients taken care of, which means you're doing the right stuff and learning and being a true pro
Yeah, and
to compete in this market.
And you guys are going above and beyond with education just to know what it takes to be on the leading edge to get your buyers' offers accepted and getting your sellers under contract. So nice job.
Way to go. Way to go.
All
So
right.
many new faces.
So many new faces. That's what was fun, is just seeing how deep this office is. We've had so many people in our branch have closings this year. It's awesome. A lot of success. And I reached out to some of our top 5, 6 agents already for the year that are doing amazing stuff and really big time deals right now. It's just awesome. If you have a new or coming soon listing,
Please share.
please tell us about them.
We want to know.
Get them on, and be on the lookout on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Exactly. So go ahead and post your links in the comment section below, or type a description and the purchase price or in-my-list number or when it's coming available, so that your fellow equity agents have a shot at hopefully getting their buyer into the property as soon as it hits the market. I think that's all we got today.
I think that's it. Paul, you got anything?
Sure, I could pull something up, but no, we're good. I think
We
got
kept
it
them
all.
over. Yeah, a little over time. Sorry about that. Mentioned at the beginning of the meeting, for those of you that weren't on, there will not be a sales meeting in July. It's Christmas in July.
Yeah.
Go
it's
vacation,
summer.
go play.
Go play.
Yeah.
Hang out with your kids, and enjoy what Colorado has to offer in the summer, which is when we all want to be outside playing around anyway. So yeah, every year we skip July, and this year will be no different. So we'll do our next sales meeting in August. But of course, we're always here for your support, so never hesitate to reach out.
Call us if you need us. We're here.
Have a great week, you guys. Thanks for joining us today.
See you, Paul.
See you guys later.
Probably talk to you in a couple minutes.
Bye, guys.
See ya.
We'll see ya.
Bye.